I know a lot of you guys out there have a fear of rejection when it comes to talking to women. So we're going to break down where that fear comes from and how to overcome that fear. But first, wipe your feet off at the door when you step into a pimp's domain. Let's go.
Bitch, you want all this pimping you can't afford. Perform like a punk, but want a winner's reward. Some suckers give you points, but bitch, you never scored. If you ain't paying pimping, then bitch, you getting ignored.
Okay.
I'm so sick of these.
I swear a lot of you dudes be treating these women like the big bad wolf, man, like they gonna get you. Like if they reject you, you know, it's gonna unalive you or something. You're gonna lose your life if you get rejected by a female, man. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of you remember being afraid of the dark when you were a little kid, right? You might have been scared of what was under the bed. You might have been afraid of what was in your closet. You thought something was going to jump out of one of them places and get you. But then your dad or your mom or your grandmother, you know, some elder person, guardian or what have you, you know, had a conversation with you and, you know, showed you that nothing was under the bed, showed you that nothing was in the closet, showed you that there was no reason to be afraid of the dark. And a combination of that and becoming older and more mature, you know, the fear of your fear of the dark dissipated, right? It faded away. One reason why it faded away is because of certainty. You became sure of the fact that there was nothing to fear. You faced the fear and realized there was nothing to be afraid of. So fast forward into adulthood, man. A lot of y'all's fear of rejection is just as ridiculous as a little kid being afraid of the dark. And just like the little kid that's afraid of the dark, a lot of you are afraid of rejection because of the uncertainty of it. You know, you don't think about the facts. You don't consider the facts. You don't consider the reality of, you know, what rejection consists of or what factors into it or how you're affected by it or any of that, right? And, you know, for one, a lot of you magnify the woman and minimize yourself. This is one of the main reasons why you're afraid of rejection when it comes to women. You magnifying the woman. You magnifying her significance. You magnifying her importance. And it's not to say that she's not significant or important. It's just you're magnifying it to a point that you forget about your own significance and your own importance, right? Which is most important. Because if, a woman rejects you, then obviously her significance or importance in your life is not there. But your significance and importance to yourself has to be there, right? So it's really a matter of putting things in perspective. Like I said, one, you're magnifying her to a point where you can't even consider yourself, you don't see yourself. And two, you're focused on things that are beyond your control. If a woman rejects you, you can't control her and make her want you. And it's not the end of the world. And like I said, when it comes to a little kid being afraid of the dark, one of the ways that they overcome that fear is to face the fear, face that thing that they're afraid of. And as a grown man, if you face your fear of rejection by, being comfortable approaching women, talking to women, meeting women, you'll realize that it's nothing to be afraid of, just like that little kid realizes there's nothing to be afraid of when it comes to the dark. It's nothing to be afraid of. And you got to ask yourself, how is this going to impact your life if this woman that you don't know, that you were trying to get to know, but end up not getting to know, how's that impacting your life? If a woman rejects you, are you going to lose your livelihood, your income, your business, your job, what have you? Is it going to knock some zeros off of your bank account or off of your paycheck? Is it going to unalive you if a woman rejects you? Is it going to hurt you and maim you and put you in the hospital? Right? Is it going to cause any kind of physical harm? You know, it's all psychological. It's a mind game that you playing on yourself and don't even realize it. It's not that serious, man. You know, and in the words of Sinful to P, and as many of us in the game say, man, at the end of the day, it's just a bitch. You know, and it's not to say that, you know, her just being a bitch, again, makes her less than or anything like that. But it's just, you know, it's just a woman. And, you know, beyond that, if a woman doesn't, you know, want to accept you or want to get to know you or anything like that, if a woman rejects you, what's the big deal? Do you ever think about that? What is the big deal? If she rejects you in a respectful way, in a respectable way, then, you know, it's cool. You could maintain respect for that woman and, you know, part ways, and it's all good. And you got to understand that you're not able to please everybody. You're never going to be able to please everybody, which means, you know, some people might not be pleased with you in that way, and that's fine, right? And it doesn't make the woman any less than. You don't have to look down on her, because I know a lot of y'all, you know, you get in your feelings and, you know, you got a bitter taste in your mouth when a woman rejects you. Hey, man, she don't have to like you. She don't have to accept you. And that's fine. But once you get over that fear, you can get through. You see, in the game, right? We have an ideology in the game that, you know, you're going to go through a whole bunch of undesirables. You might go through 1,000 undesirables before you get to that one desirable chick that you supposed to have, right? So in the game, understanding, okay, I'm gonna go through 1,000 punks, 1,000 less than desirable chicks before, I mean, hypothetically speaking, before I get to the one that I'm supposed to have. You know, if I understand that, then that means I'm gonna have to get to work. I'm gonna talk to, you know, all the ones that I want to talk to until I find the one that I'm supposed to have, right? And, you know, that means obviously a lot of them are going to reject me, and some of them, after I get to having a short conversation with them, I might realize that I don't want to deal with them. And see, a lot of guys don't consider that. You know, you don't consider the fact that, you know, as gorgeous as this woman may be aesthetically on the outside looking in, you know, as beautiful as she may be, as fine as you may find her to be of the eye, once you start having a conversation with this chick, you might realize to yourself, like, you know what, this ain't really my type of woman. You know, she's cool, you know, but this ain't really what I'm looking for. This ain't the type of woman that I want to build with in my life. Or, you know, even if you're just trying to have fun, you might realize that this ain't the type of chick that you want to have fun with. You know, you might find some things out about her that you ain't digging and say to yourself, you know what? This ain't what I anticipated it to be. This ain't what I was hoping it was going to be. So let me cut this short, right? And this happens. And see, you know, like I said, a lot of you guys, you see the way a woman looks and you just magnify that to a point where you minimize yourself. But when you consider yourself and consider what you bring to the table, you know, now you have a sense of certainty. You know, you have a sense of surety. You're more secure in the situation because you know who you are. You know what you are. You know what you bring to the table. You know how much of an asset you can be to this woman. And when you consider all of that, you know, you understand that it's more so her gain than yours. In the words of Kanye West, it's 1,000 yous, it's only one of me. That's my mindset, at least. It's 1,000 yous, it's only one of me. So when you think of it like that, man, and consider all these things, it puts everything in perspective. And once you have everything in perspective, you realize that there's nothing to fear when it comes to talking to a woman, right? And like I said, you can't please everybody, and that's okay. And see, this is another thing too, right? A lot of what goes on social media, you know, makes it kind of gives you the energy that if you disagree with somebody, then you have to hate that person. You have to, like, there's nothing good that can come from that, right? But there is a such thing as respectfully disagreeing. When you understand that you can respectfully disagree with somebody, meaning you have your stance, this person has their stance, you don't agree, but you can respectfully disagree and still have respect for one another, still be able to build with one another, maybe in a different capacity or what have you. But the bottom line is, you know, you don't hate this person's guts and they don't hate your guts just because you disagree with each other on a particular thing or several different things. But that is a thing. You know, a lot of y'all, if somebody disagree with you, you get all bent out of shape, you get emotional, you be ready to get violent and all type of stuff. But hey, man, that ain't how men rock. Men don't get down like that. You know, men know how to respectfully disagree. So if you approach a woman and she rejects you, you know, you can look at that as her respectfully disagreeing with, you know, getting to know you. And that's okay. You can still have respect for that woman and, you know, have common courtesy for her, and y'all part ways and it's all good. It ain't the end of the world. You still gonna be who you are. You still gonna be living the life that you've been living. Everything gonna be all good. You know, the world is not gonna end if a chick rejects you, man. And like I said, once you get into the practice of it, you know, like how the pimping do, like I said, we go through 1,000 undesirables before we get to that one we supposed to have. Once you get into the swing of it, you realize it ain't nothing to be afraid of. You know, y'all treat rejection like it's skydiving or, you know, bungee jumping or some shit like that, man. Y'all treat that like it, like, man, you dig? But yeah, man, the bottom line is you got to put things in perspective, and you have to consider who you are going into the situation when you approaching a woman. And once you consider who you are and you know yourself, you're not a stranger to yourself, like I say all the time, and you're sure of who you are and what you bring to the table and how it can benefit this woman to get involved with you, hey man, you realize there's nothing to be afraid of. So let that marinate on your mind one time, freezes it. Go ahead, put some of this good old love in your body like so. And of course, as always, long live the incomparable Sinful to P. We out. Dig this. I've been stroking relentless to get waves like this. I spoke into existence for her to pay like this. In the trenches on a day like this, traffic consistent, and so I have to insist that she relay my chips. It's a trap with her name on it and my game on it. Any forces coming against this game, shame on it. Standing on my pimpin' from day one and remain on it. It carried me through every terrain and I gained on it. Experience joy and pain on it, sustained on it.
But getting back to this game that I never left.
Baby, yeah,